All right, today we're diving into a real medical mystery. It plays out like something from a detective novel, where a super common diagnosis is actually hiding a much, much more dangerous secret. We're talking about the great mimic.
So let's just jump right in. Imagine this. You have a patient, and they have all the classic signs of tuberculosis. You give them the standard meds, but they don't work. In fact, the patient's getting worse. So what's going on here? That is the exact puzzle we are going to crack today.
Okay, first up, the TB illusion. This is where our story starts, with a really dangerous deception. We're talking about something that can fool even the most experienced doctors and lead them down a totally wrong and, frankly, life-threatening path.
So I want you to put yourself right in the middle of this. You're a doctor working in a rural clinic, let's say in the Philippines. A patient walks in with a fever and a really persistent cough. Now, in that setting, what's the first thing you're thinking? Right, tuberculosis. It's the most common diagnosis. Every bit of your training, every instinct is screaming TB. And this right here is exactly why it's so deceptive. Just look at this. The symptoms, fever, cough, even lung abscesses, they are identical. The whole clinical picture is a textbook match for tuberculosis. But, and this is the whole point, the cause is a totally different bug. This is the heart of the illusion, the perfect mimic. Okay, so if it's not TB, then what in the world is it? Time to unmask the real villain here. You see, the culprit is something that's a master of disguise. It's what scientists call a great mimic. This thing has basically evolved to perfectly imitate a more common disease so it can just fly under the radar, you know? It completely evades the right diagnosis and the right treatment. And this is where it gets really, really dangerous. It's not just a mimic. Experts have another name for it, a biological time bomb. And that phrase, man, that tells you everything you need to know, right? This isn't just some regular infection. It's something that can just sit there, dormant, waiting for the right moment to cause absolute chaos. All right, so here's the big reveal. The villain we've been talking about is a bacterium called Burkholderia pseudomallei. It's this tiny organism that lives in soil and water, mostly in tropical places, and it causes a disease called Melioidosis. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not, but it's a serious one. So let's talk more about this biological time bomb idea. How does this thing actually work? Let's break down its sinister game plan. It's a four-step process, and it's pretty wild. First, infiltration. The bacteria gets into your body, maybe through a tiny cut in your skin you didn't even notice. Step 2, hibernation. And this is the crazy part. It actually hides inside our own immune cells, these things called macrophages, and it can just stay there for years, even decades. Then comes the trigger. It just waits for a moment when your immune system is weak for some reason. And finally, detonation. It explodes out, turning into this active, full-blown, and really life-threatening infection. I mean, that is just both fascinating and terrifying, right? The source material has this incredible phrase for it. It calls this long, quiet phase a lonely laboratory of infection. Just think about that for a second. The bacteria isn't just sleeping, it's literally hanging out inside your own cells, waiting for that perfect moment to attack. Okay, so this brings us to the most important part of this whole thing, the secret to survival. How do you defuse this time bomb before it goes off? Well, the key to it all, what our source material calls the secret sauce, isn't some super complex lab test or a fancy expensive machine. Nope. It all comes down to connecting two simple pieces of the puzzle that often get missed, the symptoms and the patient's environment. And here it is. This is the simple formula that saves lives. When a doctor sees those TB-like symptoms, the very next question they have to ask is about the patient's environment. Hey, have you been in contact with a lot of soil or muddy water recently? It's that simple combination, the symptoms plus that environmental clue, that finally unmasks the great mimic. That's how you spot the real emergency, melioidosis. So that leaves us with a pretty big and honestly kind of unsettling question. Melioidosis shows us just how easily one disease can pretend to be another. And it really makes you wonder, if this great mimic has been hiding in plain sight for so long, what else is out there? How many other mimics are we missing right now?